I suppose the curtain draws down on 2019. I suppose the Champ.ie podcast is renowned for looking forward. For this one, we're going to actually take a look back at the National Hunt the National Hunt year of 2019, and I'm absolutely delighted to have a very special guest and a treat for podcast listeners. JP McManus, retained rider and 38-time Cheltenham Festival winning jockey Barry Geraghty. He's going to feature on the review of 2019, and as always, I suppose I'm joined by Mr. Thomas Coyle, trainer from Batterstown, County Meath, to look back on 2019. Ronan Groome from the Irish Field, and I suppose the man they call the Fox Rock Shark, Mr. Andrew Blair-White from the Blair-White blog. So delighted to have you back on, lads.
Hey, Barry. Yeah, to be on.
Good stuff. And Colin Finlay is cooking for the better half. He didn't go into too much detail what he was. He was a bit of an expert on this Stilton cheese on the Christmas preview podcast. But we'll get the full lowdown when he's back on the podcast, maybe on Thursday night. But to start with, I suppose, lads, we'll just look back at my interview with Barry Geraghty early on, looking back at the 2019 year. So delighted to have Barry Geraghty, 38-time Cheltenham Festival winning jockey. It's a New Year's treat for Champ.ie followers. And I suppose, Barry, I'll start by asking you, how was the Christmas? Was there much travel involved? How's it been for you?
Yeah, it's good. I got over to Campton and Stevens then, got a couple of winners there. It was good. So an early start, 5 o'clock start there for that, and back home that evening and back to Leopardstown then for 3 days, and was just touched off in the Paddy Power on Fitzhenry. So that was a bit of a I didn't see it coming in the last 3 strides like that.
And did you hear Jerry Hannon's commentary on Roaring Bull? Did you hear him coming behind you?
Well, I knew there was something coming, so I was head down and I was keep going, but wasn't enough to beat Roaring Bull.
Wasn't enough to beat Roaring Bull. So looking back, I suppose, on 2019, Barry Geraghty, one novice this time last year that came on the scene was Champ. He won the Challow Hurdle at Newbury. What sort of a feel did he give you that day? And a horse of high talent.
Yeah, no, he was very good. It was a slow run race. He was a little bit keen, but he picked up well. And for a horse who enjoys 2.5 mile and got 3 in Aintree after that, we knew, a slow run 2.5 wasn't going to suit him. So to win that, we were fairly happy he was going to build on that, especially stepping up and through.
Absolutely, and of course a horse that you absolutely love, that's Steffi de Sol. Early last season, his battles with Lost in Translation, of course, won at Cheltenham and won at Sandown and back to Cheltenham then. Of those performances, which one stood out for you? As I presume it would have been Cheltenham.
Well, Cheltenham is the one you want to win, especially. But I thought he was very good in the Tingle Creek, in stepping up in grade. He'd only ran once over 2 miles as a novice in Punchestown when he got beaten by Chacun Poussoir. So, there's a question mark over that as regards it was his last run of the season. Maybe the edge was gone off him, but he really stepped up in the Tingle Creek, and that performance would really excite you. But likewise, Cheltenham beating Lost in Translation. We knew on the day it was a good performance, and we knew Lost in Translation was going to be a good horse. So he's shaped up well, with the exception of running below par in the King George, but he's been good today.
And I suppose the ride of the Cheltenham Festival in many people's minds was Sire de Burley. Shades of AP McCoy on that horse, Witch of the Lyman. He was off the bridle for nearly 2 circuits in the Pertemps. And what was your memories of that particular race and delivering him late at the Cheltenham Festival?
Yeah, he struggles. He jumped a bit big early on, and he got warmed up until about halfway, and then I was chasing him along, and he missed the third last. Got a bit squeezed for room, but in fairness to him, every time I got stuck into him, he found a little bit, and he kept finding another little bit, and I knew turning in I was going to take a fair one to beat me.
Fair enough. And of course, then at Aintree on that Friday, of course, maybe your season turned a little bit, Barry, with the broken. Tell us a little bit about the injury itself. It was just above the ankle, I believe, and a horrible day. What goes through your mind when something like that happens? Your whole season, of course, you had Aintree, you had the National the next day, and then Punchestown as well to look forward to.
Yeah, well, just the initial reaction was I didn't see that coming. I was after breaking. I've had an average run in the last 4 or 5 years. I did both arms. I did ribs and a punctured lung, and just before Cheltenham a couple of years before that I had shoulder blade. I'd missed plenty of time, so having had a reasonable good run, I'd say, for 10 years before that with only small breaks, I was on the deck and I was looking up at my leg and it was twisted sideways. I knew it was broken. I was thinking, I see that coming, you know. So that's all it is. You don't see it coming.
Don't see you coming. And of course, then there was one thing I wanted to ask you. Yourself, Ruby Walsh, and Davy Russell were, I suppose, some of the more experienced jockeys in the weigh room. Ruby Walsh, did he surprise you, Barry, when he announced his retirement at Punchestown? And I suppose, is there one Ruby Walsh memory that sticks out for you?
I was at home with my leg up on the day when he retired, and I watched the race, and he gave the horse an unbelievable ride. You know, he was being hassled up the front, and he kept saving, and he didn't kick until late on. It was a brilliant ride, and then to retire on that, and plus after giving a great ride to the horse in the Irish Grand National, who was only a novice, and that was, you know, he was brilliant on both of those, and it just completely shocked me. You know, I was. Oh, I couldn't believe it when it happened. I was punched on the following day, and he was going on the best smile. And I was still in shock with the thought that he could actually stop it back. Such a good run, if you like. So, no, it was a strange one, but obviously he had his mind made, and it was his time to go. So he was happy with that. As regards memories, geez, it was umpteen memories, I'd suppose. The two, if you want to go for a score each, was probably more of that. I got one over him there, beating Annie Power, but then he got one back on me when he beat York. So we got one on each other those 2 years in Cheltenham.
Absolutely, yes. Well, then you're looking at your time out, Barry. You're 6 months out, I believe. I think you were hoping to get back for Listowel. I think that was the original target. But then, so how was the recovery during the summer? So did you spend much time in the likes of Jessica's or Nicky Henderson's? Or were you in Gavin Cromwell's, I think, as well during that time?
Well, the first 4 months I wasn't doing much. I couldn't do much. I had the frame on me for 13 weeks, so I got that off in early July, I think, which, you know, at that stage I was hoping Galway was the original plan, but that was nowhere close. Then I was hoping for the Listowel, but I went back to the surgeon, and I was riding out at that stage, early September, and Jesse's, and I was hoping to get back for the Listowel, and my surgeon, Mr. David Moore, who was very good, he said to me, give it another month. He said, if you twist that leg, it'll find the weakness. So he didn't have to argue too much case there. You know, Listowel's a great meeting, but, you know, I didn't need to come back a month early and maybe risk breaking it again with the winter season only around the corner. So that just kicked it to touch for the month. I got back in October and got back going again, and thankfully I've had a good run through the early part of the winter.
Yeah, and I suppose what a horse to look forward and to get you through those mornings, those dark mornings. I suppose when you're out injury would be definitely the Sol, and we did mention him obviously in the Tingle Creek, but that 2 mile division now. I suppose you've been associated with the likes of Sprinter and Moscow Flyer. Is he a 2 miler now in your head?
Well, the Tingle Creek is, you know, that's one of the top 2 mile races of the year, probably second only to the Champion Chase. So, you know, he won that. He beat obviously beat Undersow, who was a great performance. Ground was hard work, would have played to the Undersow strengths, if you like, and probably definitely at his age and lack of experience, it probably made it harder work for him. So I think he's there's plenty of improvement in him at both his age and learning to race and jump at speed, which he hadn't done an awful lot before. So he's a horse I've always liked and loved, especially over a fence. I think he's shaping up well for a 2 mile Champion Chaser, and fingers crossed it stays away.
I suppose another horse who was really looking forward to going into Cheltenham last year, Barry, was Epitante. She, I suppose, put her hand up at Newbury, was on the Hennessy meeting in that handicap hurdle. I think she was off 137. Then went on, of course, on just a couple of days ago in the at Kempton in the Christmas hurdle. Is she champion hurdle class now? And how, I suppose, that day at Kempton just over Christmas, she must have given you some feel.
Oh, she did. She was brilliant on the day. You know, travelled great, jumped really well. She was really slick, and you know, on soft ground as well. She showed a lot of speed, picked up well, and you know, Silver Streak is a good yardstick. He was third in the Champion Hurdle last year. He's not a superstar, but he's a good horse. And she dismissed him, and he has Kempton form as well. So it all it all ties in reasonably well. I think she's head of the market, if you like, but she's definitely a big player for the Champion Ireland.
And I must just ask you about Boover there quickly, going back to the fighting fifth. Obviously, we all saw that picture where he had the piece of the wood chip caught in his hoof. And how's he been since?
No, he's doing well, but it's a bit of an unknown as regards how long it's going to take for that. He needs to have part of the hoof cut off just to get all the chips out. So he's a hole in the front of his hoof, if you like. So that has to heal back. Now, it's probably closed up well at this stage, but to get him back to full work, it's highly unlikely he's going to make Cheltenham. But maybe there's a chance he make punches. I'm not sure, but that's all a wait and see, really. But he's in good form, I believe, and fingers crossed he's out of the woods, I'd say.
Okay, and I suppose we all know maybe what your pit was for the last year, 2019, maybe that fall of the entry. If it was something else, just tell me. But I suppose, what was your peak of 2019 as a whole, Barry Geraghty?
I suppose the two horses win the first two races on the Thursday in Cheltenham, Definitely the Sai and Sarah de Burles. So it's nice to have winners in Cheltenham, and we get two in a row. Like, definitely a good feeling.
Absolutely. I suppose, and outside your own career, Barry Geraghty, the sport of racing in itself, what was the story of 2019 in your eyes?
Jeez, you got me there now. Look at it.
Take your time, Barry.
Yeah, the way it keeps turning, it's like Willie Mullins, Gordon Elliott, Nicky Henderson is an amazing man to keep coming back year on year on year at the top level, producing them. You see Epitante, that was his big fancy for Cheltenham last year. Now, she got a bit keen of the day and worked up, but see why in Kempton, why he thought so much of her. And he's a masterful trainer. He's brilliant to work with, and I know, just admire the man no end. So there's loads of highs and everything, but he's a great man to work with. He's probably to be at it so long and to keep reinventing himself, I'd say.
Absolutely. Well, that's the horse racing, Barry. I believe you're involved in screen football as well, with a couple of the youngsters.
Yeah, the kids play with screens, so they do. So hopefully they might have the talent might come from their mum, who's a Kerry woman. So he signed to the Royals. I suppose stepping up to Dublin's level anytime soon. Yeah, they're a bit score to get to Dublin's level, but if they get they got in the into the final round there last year, so that's to get into that, and thought they improved, I think, as they went. So fingers crossed they can build on it again. Absolutely. Listen, Barry, it's been a pleasure having you on the Champ.ie, featuring just ahead of the new year as well, looking back at all 2019, and I wish you the very best of luck, Barry Geraghty, for the year ahead, and let's hope you bang in those winners. Fingers crossed. Thank you. Thanks a million, Barry. Bye-bye. There you have it. We heard from Barry Geraghty, 38-time Cheltenham Festival winning jockey, a man, I suppose, that needed no introduction in the first place. Delighted to have him on, and I suppose hopefully we can get him on between now and the end of the National Hunt season. So, personal highlight, lads, of the National Hunt year 2019. I tell you what, Andrew Blair-White, I'll come to you first, because I suppose I have just a little note of my favourite moment in the last year in racing, but I'll ask you, I think we might agree on this one. Why don't you tell us what your favourite National Hunt moment was in 2019?
Well, I was close between a few. Obviously, Duvan and Faugheen returning were both big ones for me, but I must say, seeing Alboom Photo in the Gold Cup was a big one for me. I'd been backing him from the September previous. I got him at 33s, so it was one of my biggest ever, I suppose, Cheltenham anti-post punts. And for just to all fall into place that day, I think it's probably well documented. He isn't the biggest jumper of all time, but probably put his best round of jumping in the Gold Cup. And I must say, going forward, hopefully for this year, if he can stay sound, I think he's got another cracking chance. So to see that kind of all come together for him, and I suppose for Paul Townend as well, with the whole thing that happened at Punchestown the previous year, to kind of right that wrong was I suspect a special moment for him, and a first Gold Cup for Willie Mullins. No better man.
here, and it was actually in Loughlin Bridge for the homecoming. All those shots, those famous shots outside Doran's on the main street there. But album photo, yeah, look at it. I had a feeling you were going to say it, Andrew. I was well aware that you put him up at 33-1. I've been a follower of the blog for a long time now. But also, I suppose he's had so many attempts at it, Andrew. You look at the likes of Florida Pearl, Hedge Hunter on his own, Surdez, Jack Adam twice. And I think Vatour, if he'd have went for that race. Myself and Ronan, I think we agreed on that in the Christmas preview. I think if Vatour had went, that might have been a regret of Willie Mullins's, but maybe not to send Vatour that same year. He absolutely hacked up, of course, in the Ryanair. But moment for you, Ronan Groome, 2019.
Yeah. Everyone's going to say Tiger Roll. I thought not being drawn first there, I was going to lose a chance to say Tiger Roll, but so I was kind of trying to pick something else. But
Yeah.
I guess Tiger Roll is like a universal point for everyone. That was obviously fantastic. Grand National for the second year running. But speaking more personally, I'm trying to think of another one. I came up with Paisley Park in the Stayers. I just thought I wasn't involved in any anti-post kind of price or anything like that, but I just thought it was a fantastic win on the day. Just the whole story with the owner, who's like one of the nicest guys in racing, and came across this horse who's just come from basically a handicap, progressed the whole way through the ranks and kept winning, and people were kind of thinking, oh, is it, a small stable, Emma Lavelle, is he legit, all this, and he still goes off favourite on the day, and you think he's beaten down the hill. It looks like he's beaten, and he just kind of gets going, and the crowd just go bananas. And the next thing, he's like in front, makes a mistake at last, and they go, "Oh!" You could actually hear everyone go, "Oh no, it's terrible!" Like he's gone, and then he just kind of like re-energized himself and went away again. I just thought that was in that mad kind of hour at Cheltenham where the results were just fantastic with Bryony Frost winning and Lizzie Kelly. So that was my moment, I suppose, of the year. I just thought I really enjoyed watching it every time. It's one of those races you can watch.
Yeah.
Look at it and it puts you in a good humour, So that was for me, Paisley Park Stayers hurdle win at Cheltenham.
Thomas Coyle, moment of the year.
Yeah, it's a local one as well for me. Just Esport Allen winning the champion hurdle for it just remarks the rise of Gavin Cromwell kind of this year. He was a forgotten horse. Was only beat once, and he was an outsider for the day. I know a lot went right for him, the two mares not probably showing up and a couple of fallers, but to win in the fashion that he did, but it just really stamped more Gavin on the scene for Grade Ones, and we've seen how much he's done for his yard and his team, even with another big winner yesterday. But it really marked Gavin Cromwell in the training ranks for the Grade Ones.
Well, Tom, speaking of Gavin Cromwell, the day we finished up with the Stilton cheese and the red wine up in Barbara Finley's house, you had to go home. You didn't make it down to the Shebeen. Mr. Colin Finney, was actually the Gavin Cromwell. What looked like the Christmas party. There was a group of about 50 in one corner celebrating. He must have a big setup there, Tom. Now, does he? How many work riders do he have in that?
Yeah, the last I heard, he's well over 100 horses, and he's put in another barn and that. So he's really rising up through the ranks, and he had that nice horse that won a couple in Galway of JP's horse as well. I think he was 4th the other day in Leopardstown. But when you see him getting the horses for JP now and that, and big owners coming into his yard, he's definitely going to be a force to reckon with again for the year coming. But a real nice lad, works hard, and yeah, he's a very good team behind him with the two brothers, Anthony and Ger Fox, and he's got, to be fair, Jonathan Moore has been riding unbelievable again this year, and it's because of the backing of Gavin probably, but Jonathan Moore has come to light in the last couple of months with getting the number one job there as well. So they've had a great year, and they're definitely going to be a team to look forward to for 2020.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we'll start, lads, I suppose. We'll start at the beginning of last year, and the Dublin Racing Festival, I suppose, was introduced by HRI. two-day car. What a boost it was for him, for the National Hunt calendar, especially in Ireland. 4 Grade 1s, a Grade 2 and 2 graded handicaps both days. An absolute feast. I suppose, Andrew, just down the road from yourselves, but just want to mention, I suppose, the way it was marketed. I suppose the unsung heroes, of course, in my time in HRI, Vicky Donlan and the girls there who work in marketing, did a fantastic job, I suppose, and they will do so again this year. Take away, I suppose, what was the one performance that stuck out for you at that meeting, Andrew, only down the road from yourself? For me, I'll jump in here before you. Sir Eric in the Spring Juvenile Hurl. He was one that had, I suppose, he had the world at his feet after his win there. Tanked through the race, and I think he still had the crown jewels as well going to Cheltenham, but it was it was unfortunate what happened there. But going back to the Dublin Racing Festival, what was your thoughts on him, and I suppose a couple of the other performances over those 2 days?
Yeah, well, the second day in particular was superb from an excitement level. There was a big crowd in on the Sunday, and there was a couple of really kind of ding-dong close finishes. Personally, for me, she's not been at her best this year, but I thought Labago was that day, beating Kaiser Black, I think, and Hardline. It probably wasn't the best race of the 2-day festival. I'll freely admit that, but I'm a big fan of English trainers that kind of take horses over to Ireland and kind of support these sort of festivals. We're there throwing horses over to Cheltenham, over to Aintree, and we don't get that much in return. So to see a trainer like Warren Greatrex just kind of go and take it on and run his best horse in the Flowgas Novice Chase was great, and you like to see those sort of decisions being vindicated, and the crowd really got behind her. She was obviously a warm enough favourite. She got a great reception coming back in as well. So I think it just goes to show, actually, if the English trainers do bring a good horse over, the Irish public do want to see them. They want to see the best horses running against each other, and it was just good to see something like that work out.
Yeah, well, exactly. But a lot of the winners there and a lot of performances, it's when I suppose you really start looking at horses towards Cheltenham after the Leopardstown, obviously the Dublin Racing Festival. If you look at the likes of Sir Eric, Apples, Jade, Ronan, actually another mention for a horse as well, Bell's Hill. He came of age in the Hennessy last year. I suppose he was slightly disappointing then at Cheltenham. He was Ruby Walsh's pick, let's not forget, in the Cheltenham Gold Cup. But what performance stood out for you at the Dublin Racing Festival?
I had to be Apple's Jade, Barry. That was the kind of...
Shouldn't have asked you, should I?
I mean, it's the crowning moment for me in many ways last season, because that's when I kind of think that they realised that there's a champion hurdle here, and that's when I started getting excited, and that's probably was the clincher. And she was as electric that day, I suppose, going down to 2 miles, and she had a bit of a question to answer there, but she just did what she was doing earlier on in the season over different distances, and I think that's wasn't really made. Not enough was made of it at the time that she won 3 Grade 1s last year over all 3 different distances, all basically the 3 main distances over 2 miles, 2.5 miles, and 3 miles, and that's some going. Whatever she's done since, and I know she's been disappointing so far until she won there this week, but that's serious going. So that was a performance for me. Just what you're saying in general about the Dublin Racing Festival, look, it's an excellent idea, and I think that's the way forward for Irish racing in general, is to consolidate these big races into massive weekends, and kind of just concentrate the quality as opposed to spreading it out all over the place, and they did well last year. I guess the grading was such an issue for them last year, and you can actually still hear some trainers mumbling about it this year. But at the same time, the Sunday race, the Irish Gold Cup was only 4 runners when it was said to be I think there was 6 non-runners that morning or something, just on the ground situation. But still, it was a great race, and hopefully this year, it's great to see the rain come down now, and you forget how bad it was last year at times when fields were cutting up and things like that, and the Hennessy, the Hennessy, the Ladbrokes Trophy There's only 12 runners there last year.
Yeah.
You know, forget how bad it was. So luckily enough, like hopefully the rains keep coming and we'll have a better Dublin Race Festival, like field quantity size this year. I'm going both days definitely. So
Yeah, absolutely. Here, just in terms of, you know, I've obviously just mentioned the way they market the 2-day festival and the way they, like, Leopardstown do a fantastic job for all their fixtures, I suppose, and the awareness that they, I suppose, well, the content that they pump out and that kind of thing. Even for the winter festival, you know, they were first out there, I suppose, down in Joseph O'Brien's yard. When like from your point of view, from the Irish field and that, like, will you get a day trip, I suppose, to some of the yards now promoting this type of a festival, or what's the, you know, when will the promotion start? I'd imagine 4 weeks prior.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, the next 10 months to set that up, they obviously work with HRI, and they're always great mornings those to go down, and it's usually around the time that the entries come out. So that's when they kind of try to do the two of them together. So the entries come out, you get the entries that morning, and then the likes of Joseph, I think they went down to Gordon's last year, and HRI often use Willie as well as just to start that morning, and then you can start thinking about what races horses are going to. Obviously, it's a bit far out, but that's when the build up, and you get the likes of Paddy Power or other bookmakers are going to start pricing it up, and then you can start framing races and thinking, and then that leads on to the next questions of when you can start asking trainers, is this horse going to go here, or what's the plan? Yes, you're 2 entries there, where are you going to go? So that's kind of when it builds up. Yeah, so it does all stem from that initial press morning that Leopardstown team put together. Yeah, so that's how it kind of works. Yeah.
Absolutely, and that leads us on then, I suppose, to the Cheltenham Festival. We get all the clues from the Dublin Racing Festival, but looking back at 2019 Cheltenham Festival, Thomas Coyle, I'll come to you on this one first. What was the most impressive performance for you? Was there anything else you'd like to mention at the Cheltenham Festival?
Just probably more of a race. The Santini Delta work and
RSA.
Top of the game. Yeah, the RSA. Just when we see what them horses are going to do, what Delta work has done, and I know Santini hasn't come out, and Top of the Game is injured, but that could have been one hell of a race. Now, when you look back at it, what Delta work has done the other day, the 3 of them literally came down to the line to the last together. It was a great race. Just on the Gavin Cromwell thing again, win the champion hurdle for the Mead men, you know.
Yeah, but Tom, you mentioned just, we'll leave County Meath aside there. We've enough of you lads. Barry Geraghty, Keith Donoghue, these are all, Thomas Kyle, these are all on. We have to get David Mullins on there to square it up a little bit. But Top of the Game, that ride by Harry Cobden. I mean,
yeah,
the patience. Delta work. I think Russell was in maybe for a little bit of criticism when I was riding Delta. We're not sure what your opinion was on that, but I just thought Harry Cobden, and that was my performance of the festival, was Top of the Game, and even the ride. Obviously how patient he was and delivered him then just at the last. It was a cracking race, I thought.
Yeah. No, probably one of the races of the festival by far, and especially, as I said, as we look back at it now and looking forward to Cheltenham in the coming year. It definitely was. It was a highlight for me for the year. So it was.
Andrew Blair-White.
For me, it was City Island. I thought in the Ballymore. You just look at that race going forward. I know City Island's chasing debut was didn't go to plan last week, but like Champ was obviously very, very warm for that race and has looked decent enough over fences since. And there was some good horses that were beaten a long while. Like we haven't seen him yet, but Mouse's horse, Sam's Profile, I think is not a bad horse. And Brewing Up the Storms won a couple of races for Ollie Murphy as well. It looked a good race at the time. Like a horse like Battle Over Doyen, who's going to be a leading fancy now for the RSA. He kind of couldn't cope with it last year. So it does look strong. And just the way City Island kind of worried Champ out of it, I kind of quite liked it. I was against Champ, and kind of Barry Geraghty turned in, I suppose, looking like he was travelling a little bit better, and then kind of Mark Walsh found. And also it kind of echoes what Thomas was saying about Gavin Cromwell. To get somebody like Martin Brazel with such a good horse on his hands is great to see. You know, you get a lot of winners from Mullins and Henderson and Elliott, and that's very good. But for the smaller trainers and stuff like that to get really good horses and get those Cheltenham winners is what it's all about as well. So that was my performance.
Brilliant. Ronan Groome, Cheltenham Festival 2019, most impressive performance for you.
I mean, I think it's all already been mentioned there already. I was going to say City Island as well, as away from the obvious ones, which we've already talked about, are Album Photo and Espoir Dallin, which were great wins. You know, a great win for Gavin, obviously, to get that sort of winner at his stage of his career, and obviously for Willie to break through in the Gold Cup. That was fantastic as well after so many close misses. I suppose you can mention, just to add in as well, Ruby's last Cheltenham Festival winner, Classical Dream. There was something mad about that race in that he was kind of the only, if you remember him coming down the hill, he's the only jockey you could really see because he'd been up front and the mud hadn't got onto him, and it was kind of like, I think Don McLean wrote about it for us at the time. It was kind of like a natural kind of nature making its way, and the natural kind of cause of things just kind of coming to light, and it was Ruby. All the lights were on Ruby, and he came up the hill, and that was a serious performance from Classical Dream. Obviously, just hasn't really been able to progress or build on it this year. But if you remember how he quickened up the hill that day, a real power pack performance, and kind of got the festival off to another classic. Mullins and Walsh. The last time we'll see it, I guess, the pair of them combining to win the Supreme. So yeah, that was another good moment, I think.
You've skipped on 2 points now, because I was obviously going to mention, we probably don't need to go into great detail about Tiger Roll. Obviously fantastic, won a back-to-back Grand Nationals, was unbelievable. But I suppose Ruby Walsh's retirement at Punchestown, it caught me by surprise anyway. And we obviously heard from Barry Geraghty, he couldn't believe it. He was sitting at home with the feet up, could not believe it when it was at Punchestown the next day, and Ruby was all smiles, and he was gone. He was never going to race against him ever again. But I suppose your favourite Ruby Walsh moment of all time. I'll tell you what, lads, do you want me to tell you mine? Because I want to get in there. I want to get this one in there. Ruby Walsh Hedge Hunter 05. That was, I suppose, my first memories of racing full stop. You know, that was the first horse he ever backed, lads, and I suppose that's how he got the bug. I remember Ruby Walsh, I suppose, in the Market Square in Bagnallstown, and then I suppose he was in the church as well. That's actually where the horse box pulled in and did the whole parade up to the street or whatever. But in terms of Cheltenham and Ruby Walsh, another Willie Mullins, you obviously associate Ruby Walsh with Cato Star and Masterminded, but 5 for 3, the confidence behind that horse. Before the was what's now the Ballymore. I think it was a Neptune at the time. 5 for 3 in 08. That was probably my favourite Ruby Walsh, apart from Tidal Bay and the Lexus. That was my favourite Ruby Walsh. The patience. I'm not sure if any of you remember that. The Ballymore it's now the Ballymore. Last to first, I think Trafford lad for Paddy de Plaster. They were all in that race. It was a fantastic ride by the patience. He literally delivered them in the last 2 or 3 strides, last to first. It was like, did you any ever play that Champion Jockey game on the PlayStation 2? It's like where you were saving, and it's just literally on the last stride. Yeah, unbelievable. That gave me great pleasure. What about you, Ronan Groome?
So what one Ruby Walsh moment that well, it's got to be Denman's second Hennessy for me then, just because that was sensational. That was, if you remember at the time, that was, you know, obviously Ruby much more associated with Cato Star, and Sam Thomas usually rode Denman, but obviously Ruby was on Denman on this occasion, Sam Thomas was on What a Friend, and Denman coming back off the sorry, I can't even say that word. What's that? Fibrillating heart. Fibrillating heart. And had a point to prove. Obviously, coming back from injury, got well kind of stuffed in the Gold Cup, and was coming back here to try and regain his Hennessy title off of Marco in '74. Ruby took him to the front, down the back, jumped the cross fence. Well, one of the most amazing moments in sport for me, that cross fence jump.
We'll start getting horny now in a minute, Ronan Groome.
Yeah, exactly. So and then just all the way up the straight, you think he's going to get beaten. You think they're coming at him from every angle, and then he just holds on. And the commentary was brilliant, and that was it. Remember, if you remember the commentary, it was Simon Holt, and he was saying Ruby and Sam Thomas, a score to be settled here just before they came down to the last. And remember, What a Friend was kind of hanging in and looking around, and Ruby just kept them and going and got the win off 174. I still think it's one of the best jumps race performances I've ever seen. So that's the Ruby Walsh moment for me.
Thomas, Coyle?
I have a few, and one is him cutting the snout off me down the back in Ballinrobe when I was a 7-pound amateur trying to sneak up his inside.
Did you ever ride? I was going to ask you, did you ever ride against him?
Yeah, I was riding a horse for Eddie one day, a horse called Some Buzz that was placed in the Pierce Hurdle, and fancied him, and Eddie told me he was riding one for Tony Martin, and Eddie goes, follow Ruben, you won't be far wrong. And I don't know, do you know that the bend coming out of the back in Ballinrobe, it's a bit tight, and thought I'd be a little bit of a hero, and I tried to go up his inner. Well, he wasn't long about shutting the door and nearly put me through the rail. So
he was a hungry man, wasn't he?
Oh, I'm telling you. I know, but
he didn't hit you hard.
No, that was it. Yeah, unbelievable jockey from the likes of. You can go back to Comanche Court winning an Irish Grand National, to win an English Grand National on Papillon, being associated with horses like Kato Stars, say Denman, Azertiop as well. That was the prime of the 2 mile with Moscow Flyer, well Chief. Azertiop was right there with them. Riding horses like Big Bucks in Stayers hurdles. The man was just a genius on a horse. Like there's no other way. There's very little people that could ride a horse with him. He probably has the best pair of hands over a fence. Ruby never move. Just an absolute talent, and he'd be greatly lost in this industry, so he will.
Yeah, the one thing about Ruby Walsh, when the hands start moving, and you have to maybe a few quid on one of Ruby's, and you see the hands moving,
you're in trouble.
Yeah. You're in trouble. Yeah, no, absolutely brilliant stuff. Anyway, listen, the National Hunt season, it picked up again, I suppose, after the summer's break, and we'll come on, Andrew Blair-White. I suppose since the National Hunt season started, and 2019, 2020, the start of the season, what has been your, I suppose, favourite moment in the autumn?
Well, I've made it no secret how much of a fan of Douvan I am. I genuinely thought we'd seen the last of him after we didn't see him after kind of April 2018, but to see him back in any sort of capacity to win the Clonmel Oil Chase, showing kind of some of his old enthusiasm, like when they came the back straight second time out, and kind of Paul let him go to the front, and he started winging fences. There's kind of no better sight than seeing him in full flow. And actually, like, I know you probably can't just take that race at complete face value, but like, he beat Monolith 20-25 lengths, and Monolith's just gone down a short head or something in the Savills. Like, there's still plenty. Like, I don't know whether Douvan will be sound enough to ever make it to Cheltenham again, but I certainly wouldn't be backing against him in any race, because for me, now, I haven't been as long in the game as some of you lads, but he's the best horse I've ever seen on his day. He's just got so many gears, and I think Mullins and Ruby and stuff like that the regard they held him in, like when he was in his novice chase days and stuff like that. But anyway, to see him back and win was just, it almost brought a tear to my eye, I must say. It was poetry to watch.
Absolutely, it was fantastic to see him back, and he looked as good as ever, Andrew, to be fair. And you just have to mention the form, I suppose, of Monolith and that. So hopefully he can recover. I'm not sure what is the latest on Douvan, Ronan. You might know. What exactly was the problem?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you. It was just under a setback.
I don't think they actually said, did they? They just said he
came. Yeah, they didn't give much away. But off the top of my head, I'm not going to try and guess what it was. So.
Oh well, just one performance that got my blood going was the Hennessy this year. The Rasher counter, lads. We put him up early in the week. Ben Jones. Speaking about cool rides, we spoke about Harry Cobden, Ruby Walsh, and Barry Geraghty. This young lad, he was claiming 5. Was he claiming 5 in the race? Rode Rashford County the best horse in the race. Set him in fourth or fifth the whole way around. The confidence he showed on the horse, and took it up three. I think it was three out in that big long straight in Newbury. And I'm not sure that any ever see the I keep talking about this race, Fleming Star, Tidal Bay, First Lieutenant. Do you ever remember Mouse Morris? The shots of Mouse Morris in the closing stages of that Lexus chase. He's there boxing the hand, go on, the whole way up the last 50 yards. That was like me watching the Rasher counter, getting him up over and of course yous were coming to do me on the conditional, and Mouse had the fag in the mouth, and here he was big. Yeah, I didn't have a fag in the mouth, but the Rasher counter that got me going big time. This year, I didn't see Harambe's race. That was a pretty nice handicap win as well. But Thomas Coyle, what got your blood going so far since the jumps have returned?
Maybe not just as in a horse, but just the way Puppy Power has been riding since it's come back on. Horses like he's won the big handicap to Troytown and Chris's Dream. I know Lost in Translation flop, but he was brilliant when we got one over on Ronan there when he bet Bristol the Mike. Just Puppy has been. He's kind of taken over the mantle. He is one of the senior jockeys, but he's riding like a man possessed. I know he got concussed now the other day, but he's going to win. He's going to win big races at big festivals in the coming year, and he's definitely a man to have on your side. Just the way Puppy's been riding it's been standing out. He's been standing out for a while, but just with horses like Lost in Translation, and he's winning these big handicaps now.
Chris's Dream at Navan as well.
Yeah, he's winning these big races now. He's a jockey now that you can go to as a big day man, and you have nothing to worry about. Which is a testament to how well he's riding, and that just stands out for me.
Of course, his dad would have given him lots of advice on how to jump on horses. Captain Con Power, was it?
Yeah, Puppy himself was a very good show jumping rider before he threw his hand. I remember one of his first rides was probably for Eddie Cawley. He was an amateur first, and he rode for Jesse, and he rode a couple of bumpers for Eddie. But was always going to be a big talent, and it didn't take him too long to become conditional. He was one of them that rattled through his conditional status very quick, but he's been one of the main men for 10 years. But just literally in the last year, and especially since the jumps has come back, he's definitely a man to have on your side. And as I said, he's a big day player now.
Ronan Groome, return of the jumps. Moment for you so far?
Yeah, I kind of go down the same kind of route there as Thomas, and kind of pick a jockey. And I just think the consolidation of Rachel Blackmore kind of at the top peak of just at the top of her profession, and she's just basically, she hasn't dropped the level since she initially started progressing, and she's starting off there with Honeysuckle, who's obviously so good. That day we were at Ferry House in the Hatton's Grace. And then the two winners this week.
It's the Hattons full of grace. That was my roaring. That's my Jerry Hannon impression. I think Jerry's starting to sound more like Desi now, is he?
Yeah, maybe that's what he's going for. Yeah, with the roaring bull. Yeah. But what was I saying? Yeah, the two grade ones this week for Rachel as well. I just think she was sensational on both of them. You look at Notebook and. Fakir Duri's coming into the straight there, and she cut him off. She wasn't giving away an inch coming into the straight. She did a bit of a Ruby Walsh there on Thomas Coyle kind of motions just to save all the ground, and she was strong in the finish. And then again, you look even when she got beat there on Monley, she's lost her irons, but she still kept them going and nearly pulled it out the fire. And if she'd won that race, she would have won the feature race on all the first 3 days of Leopardstown, which is some going, and the alliance she has with Henry de Bromhead, they're just such a kind of likeable duo. You couldn't say a bad word about them. Maybe they don't exactly give you, as a journalist, I suppose they don't exactly give you a line, or they don't give much away sometimes, but they're just two very nice kind of people that you wouldn't say a bad word about to pair them. they're going to have some run. I think the horses that they have now going into 2020, likes of Honeysuckle, Notebook, Absolute Tard, and a load of nice young horses that Henry scored with over Christmas as well. So yeah, that'd probably be the moment. That'd be that kind of highlight so far the season, the national season for me.
Yeah, she's a lady, Rachel. Of course, we had her on the podcast today before Fairy House last year. Maybe at some stage in this season we might get her on again. But I suppose, lads, in the order of 1, 2, and 3, National Hunt horse of the last decade, I'll kick it off. I think Vatour was the best horse I've ever seen, Andrew. Blair-White, you're on about Duvan. And I think he obviously was raced in the last decade. Hurricane Fly, I'd have him losing out in second place. And one, I suppose, the longevity. Never won a Gold Cup. Done Vatour in the King George. Won a champion bumper. Q card. I think it would be, I suppose, unfair not to mention him, especially I suppose we all probably thought he was finished, and he came back and what he won so many Betfair. How many Betfair chases did he win? Don't know offhand, but I just thought he was a fantastic horse, and one I suppose it was hard not to like. West Country horse. Ronan Groome, the 1, 2, and 3 National Hunt horse of the last decade for you.
Yeah, I think right. It's a difficult one.
We'll come back to you,
Andrew. No, I'm all right. I can give you. I'm going Faheen. I'm not. I haven't put them into an order, but I'm going Faheen, Sprinter Sacra, Altior, and for Faheen for his longevity, I think to come back so many times after looking like he was a busted flush, whatever, and he's just done it again. Sprinter Sacra was just sensational. I wasn't a particularly big, when you just don't get connected to a horse for some reason. But I never really got into the Sprinter Sacra thing. I wasn't one of those people who was crying on when he won again. But you can't deny how good he was in his pomp, especially. He was sensational. And Altior, I think, has just been brilliant as well with 4 festival wins in a row, and he might still come back. A few, just when you say Vautour, and I don't want to start a row here because it's very easy to get into rows about these things, but the Gold Cup, the lack of a Gold Cup try that year really left us just a sour taste. I just thought that was really, after telling everyone that they were going to go for it, and then to sack it off and go for the Ryanair chase.
Couldn't believe it. Was it on the morning line, Ronan? And Rich Ritchie broke this just randomly, as if he was just after dropping something out of his pocket. He just literally dropped this in.
And this was him after giving the big one about him. He'll definitely run in the Gold Cup. No problem, lads. I'm the punter's pal here. No, absolutely no question. And it was just a weird kind of thing. And so that's obviously nothing to do with the horse, and he obviously won the Ryanair so good, and his JLT one was brilliant, and I backed him when he won the Supreme. And the other one I saw on people's lists, and I was kind of going, I just can't have it, is Cuvega. I just like this thing of, fair enough, she's won 6 festival wins in a row, but they're mayor's hurdles. Why didn't she go for a stayer's hurdle? Or why didn't you go for a champion hurdle? Why didn't you get one chance? And the fact that there's a feckin' bar named after her in Cheltenham now, that's a disgrace as well. What is going on? We should not be rewarding like this sort of kind of, sacking off going for the big races and winning. You can tell me that Cuvega wouldn't have been competitive and made a serious race out of it with big bucks, and they never ever gave her the chance. That leaves a sour taste with me as well. Beating the likes of Kemper Grey Lady, that should not get your name on a bar. That's fair enough, is it not?
What have I done? I've dropped the match into a litre of petrol here. This is what this is all about. I suppose. I can see your point. Maybe they should have went for some of the bigger races with her. Thomas Coyle, top 3. Sorry, in order: first, second, and third National Hunt horses of the last decade.
I suppose now I have to put them in order. Just Ronan gave a quick mention there. Big Bucks was at the top of his game for so long in the 3 mile division. Had his go at chasing, came back, but he was so good we nearly wanted to see him get beat at times. But he was there. Hurricane Fly for me, he's kind of like the people's horse. He was so good and gutsy for such a small little horse. And probably the one that everyone probably has in now is Tiger Roll. He's a 3-time Cheltenham Festival winner, a double Grand National. There's not too many horses that have a CV like that in over the last 10 years. So be something like that. I would give an
honourable mention to Forever.
Yeah. To when I hear Ronan talking about mares, Annie Power. For me, she was probably a better mare than Quevega. She don't as Ronan said, she done a lot more maybe than Quevega on. I know obviously not winning 6, but she put herself on the line in them bigger races. So for me, she get an honourable mention.
And let's hope Honeysuckle goes for the champion hurdle in 2020.
Here.
The line. Andrew Blair-White. I can't believe Thomas Coyle said Big Bucks is his first horse.
Third, the other way around though.
I can't believe you even had him in the top 3. Like I give you a chance of picking your first, second, and third national hunt horse of the decade, and you pick a horse in the stairs hurdle. Good man.
He's so good, lad. We've never been
Andrew Blair-White.
Well, unsurprisingly for me, Douvan's number 1. As for reasons I've already stated, I'm with you. Vitor was number 2 for me. To win 3 races at the festival on the bounce by the lengths he did, he was just an incredible horse. I get what Ronan's saying about the slight sour taste, but he was still absolutely top class. And then third, I was humming and hawing between 2 that are, I wouldn't say are in the top 3 horses of the decade quality wise, but for me,
if you say Windsor Avenue for Brian Ellisy, you're never coming on it again.
Not quite. But one would be Undersow. If you're going on about longevity with Q card and stuff like that, I think Undersow. One of my first bits of racing actually was seeing him win the Irish Oracle at Leopardstown in kind of early 2015, and to think that we're 5 years on, we're still thinking about him for every big Grade 1 2-mile race is unbelievable. And one horse that just was taken from us a bit too quickly was Disco. I absolutely loved Disco. No, me thought. I thought he was.
Eject.
I genuinely thought he was going to make up into a Gold Cup horse. When you look back, even though at his win in the Flogas novice race at Leopardstown, when he beat our Duke, and then that year our Duke won the national by like 14 lengths, I thought he was going to be really top class. Those great grey horses are something to watch, and I as I said before, he isn't obviously in the top 3 horses of the decade, but I had to give him a mention.
That is absolutely fair enough, Andrew Blair-White. We'll let you away with that one.
That's a good one though, Barry. The one that got away.
Well, I suppose the one that got away on me was, I suppose, Our Connor.
I was going to say him. I was about to say it, and you just robbed it straight from me.
Yeah, well, you can talk about Our Connor.
No. We agree. I mean, like, yeah, it's Trying Parliament was amazing, wasn't it? That was just sensational stuff.
If you look back at Cheltenham festivals and that, and there's two performances that I watch. There's 3 actually. One is completely different type of I suppose performance. One would be the Tour. The second would be Our Connor in the Triumph, and the third one would actually be Wichita Lime and AP Mackay. Anyway, listen, lads, we'll move on to the very last point or talking point of this review of 2019, and it's actually looking forward to 2020. And I suppose one dark horse to take into 2020. Mr. Andrew Blair-White, will come to you first.
Well, if you're giving me stick for Disco, you're going to give me a lot more stick for this, because I've really gone for something very offbeat here. But I think by the end of this year, we will be here seeing Gallant John Joe having won a big handicap chase.
That's fine.
Potentially around Leopardstown. You look at his runs around Leopardstown. He was second in the novice handicap at the Christmas Festival last year. He's then third in the Grade 1 behind Commander Fleet, and then ran an absolute stormer there this week behind Mellon on his chasing debut. He probably might pitch him back into the Dublin Racing Festival in like the Irish Arkle. Probably wouldn't have a chance of winning that, but I think he could well win a big handicap near the end of the year over 2 miles or 2.5.
I'm going to step in here now. I'm going to say 2 that didn't run this week at Leopardstown. 2 were down to go and they didn't run. I was on my way up to Leopardstown today and I couldn't wait. Couldn't get enough on this horse in the Thames qualifier. And I suppose I'm not sure the reasons why. I thought I passed an Armagh Edge horse box on the way down from Dundalk. But the jam man for Ronan McAnally won a couple of handicaps in the short space of time in the UK in the summer. Won a 33-1 in Navan, beating Ronan Groome's, the horse that he likes, 2A Permy. And the comments after the race, the trainer, he was talking Paisley Park, he was talking Stairs Hurdle, and I'm not sure Ronan, would you know, have you ever interviewed Ronan McAnally? Would he be a bullish type? But I just thought that was very interesting, and he's rated, I think it's 138 now at this point. I reckon where he pitches up next.
He's in at Cheltenham, Barry, I think, isn't he, on New Year's Day? Is he?
Sorry, he's in the Rel Keel Hurdle. You're right.
Yeah, he's in the handicap hurdle, the 3 mile as well. He's in both races, I think. Yeah,
so he reckons he's going to come on an awful lot. Obviously, the price suggested that maybe they didn't think he was ready for that day at Navan. It might have been just a spin around, but 33-1 he went off, and to be honest, he won like an odds-on shot. And I just think wherever he goes, if he goes to Cheltenham on New Year's Day, I'll definitely be siding with him. Another one is Salsoretta. Can't wait to see her up the 3 miles.
She's in tomorrow.
She's in tomorrow, is she? Right.
Yeah,
right. Well, can't wait to see her. Thomas Coyle, dark horse for 2020?
You have me a bit stumped here. I forgot about this one. And I wouldn't mind. I usually have something down the handicap route. But
right, have a look at have a look at that famous brown Bible while we come to Ronan. Ronan Groome.
Yeah, I have a dark horse, but he's become even darker after Christmas. And that's Coeur Sublime, who I'm not going to give up on for the champion hurdle. And reports of him making a noise. This is this is like the official line of all horses after Christmas. All the big ones that got bet seem to have made a noise during the race. So I don't know what that actually means completely, but I presume it could be a wind issue. And I'm not sure he got if the race kind of worked out as well as it could have for him. I think a strong pace and a return to Cheltenham might be where we see this horse really kind of be at his best. And if I have a 2 mile horse this season or a champion hurdle or anything over 155, I'd be running it in the champion hurdle. So there's a lot of dark horses in that market that you can try and see would they end up there? Would the trainers take a chance? Because I just don't think there's much there. Even Epitante, I can't see how she's a 7-2 shot already after her win in the Christmas hurdle. Might even run in the race because she's a mare as well. Obviously, has the option of going for the mares. So I wouldn't give up on Coeur Sublime. He's got a bit to prove now that if they get the win done, get him back to Leopardstown, a stronger place to run at, and Cheltenham I think really suited him last year. He really came alive there. It was his best form of the whole season. So I think he's out to around 25s, maybe even 33-1 shot now. I wouldn't give up on him at all.
Here. He was in my 20 horses to follow for the season, Ronan Groome. Are you stealing my content?
Well, no, not now that he's got beaten. If I took it after he won, then yeah, possibly. But
okay, well, I hope you're right. Thomas Coyle, you've definitely dug deep into that brown Bible of yours.
It's just maybe one horse that people have forgotten about. It's not that he's a dark horse; everyone knows, and I hear that he is back in work in Cantron. Is Larichburg. He is back in work. I heard Joseph saying this week he would have been a lot of Irish people's banker for an Arkle last year. And I did know I listened to some, I think it could have been the Betfair content or something, and they were talking to Joseph, and the horse is in
one of those things that try to be like us, Tom.
Yeah. And but the thing was, he was asked about the horse, and he is back cantering and that. So if he could get him back, you wouldn't know. He might be a live wire in a champion chase or something, you know.
Okay, lads, so that concludes, I suppose, our review podcast of the year that was 2019. And once again, I suppose, thank you very much to the lads for coming on. Andrew Blair-White from the Blair-White blog. Thanks very much, Andrew.
No worries, Barry.
Thomas Coyle, trainer from Battersea County Meath, as always. Thanks very much, Thomas.
Thanks, Barry.
Ronan Groome, and of course, Barry Geraghty. Thanks very much, Barry, who, I suppose, did a Skype interview with me earlier on, and hopefully maybe between now and the end of the season Barry can get on with us. But the very best of luck as well for 2020 to Barry and the McManus team. So that concludes the Champ.ie review podcast. We'll see you next time.